Welcome to episode 19 of Tangled Rights. I am Justin W. Wilson, one of your co-hosts. The other dude is...
Shandy Cox, Esquire, attorney at law.
This is not legal advice. If you're not in the Las Vegas, Nevada, or Kansas areas, seek out your own counsel for your questions. If you are in those areas, call me. I'll help you. And or Shane. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. We have been kind of going over cases and stuff, but we wanted to get back to one that we had a lot of fun with before, where we sort of went over random laws and things, and we thought, what better to do than look at random Googled questions?
That has to do with law, right? Like what people
legal
are,
questions.
What people are Googling about
The law.
the law. So
Yes.
we have the numbers of how many searches there were for the year 2023 for this exact phrase.
And it's so strange that they keep track of this.
I don't know.
I mean, whatever. All right.
The number one phrase, number one question by far.
Massively. 110,000, and the one below it was 33,100.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me. What does indictment mean?
What does indictment mean? Justin, I don't know. Yeah.
The word indictment literally just means a formal charge or accusation, right? So it's just a formal accusation. And when they talk about indictment, that's actually from the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, which says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless a presentment or indictment from a grand jury. And what they mean by that infamous crime is felony, right? So an indictment typically, and when we hear it here, is they take the case, as I've said, you know, there's two ways to get a case from justice court into district court, and that's either from preliminary hearing or grand jury. And so in that instance, you go to grand jury, the grand jury brings down an indictment, and then that indictment turns into the proceedings that happen in district court.
So why do you think this question was so popular? I'll give you a hint. It has to do with our former president.
Oh, yeah, I guess he did get indicted. And
he got indicted, so people
many of his
what's an indictment?
Many of his supporters probably, let's see, indictment. That's a 3-syllable word. Yeah, shut up. I have to count on my fingers sometimes. I'm not a mathematician. Yeah, no, but I mean, some of his supporters probably that word's got too many syllables.
There's a C in there, and you didn't pronounce the C. Is this a French word? Is this a French word too?
I don't know. Can I get the country of origin, please? Let me look it up.
Can I have it in a sentence?
In a sentence.
Donald J. Trump faced indictment for his charges.
Indictment.
It basically means being called to court to face formal charges. And so...
Yes, no, I know that. It's Anglo-Norman from Latin, so it's Latin.
I don't know.
Whatever.
That C got thrown in there. Ooh. So indictment, yeah, simple. It's a simple word basically saying a case is getting started against you.
We're still using it in a sentence, right?
Sure, go ahead.
The Federal Department of Justice, in a witch hunt against Donald Trump, brought about an indictment against him for crimes that every president since Clinton has also committed.
It wasn't federal, was it?
I don't know.
It wasn't federal. It was the state of New York.
I'm just being a jerk.
You are being a jerk. That's okay. So what does indictment mean?
It is a formal accusation of a serious crime.
Yeah, there's a criminal complaint actually filed against you, and you are facing some charges, and they're trying to push them to trial.
And the other thing there is that when you go to probable cause hearing, which is your preliminary hearing or your grand jury, it's just slight or marginal evidence. So there have been cases where I had that one, that track client where we got bound over on the burglary and theft, but we dealt it down to a trespass because there was slight or marginal evidence, just enough to get over, but not enough for beyond a reasonable doubt. And they know that they're screwed. And so rather than getting something, they take nothing.
I explain it to clients like this. The court doesn't want to waste their time on cases that don't, meet a burden. So you get a couple chances to have a case dismissed before going to trial. So the state, the city, whatever the prosecuting body is, has to prove that there is some evidence for them to carry, the case. Because they continue to do an investigation too. So with the evidence they have at that time, is there enough to actually carry this forward and Could there be enough at a trial? So the bar is lower, but that is a chance for you to get your case dismissed and have it just go away right there. So we like having those. We don't normally waive those. We want to go there and have those done because we get one shot in front of the judge to get your case taken care of and dismissed. So
And you also get to see some of their evidence. Although at preliminary hearing, I'm not putting on the whole dog and pony show as a prosecutor. I put on just what I have to. Like I remember a case I had that I ended up dismissing because after the prelim, the defense attorney did a great job, pointed out some stuff that I didn't know, right? Because they did their own investigation. But from my side, all I'm seeing is I've got a complaining witness saying that she was SA'd. In that case, all I do is I put the victim on. What happened?
here, let's take a break. There's supposedly a fire outside. Javin just texted.
Outside what?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a what?
There's a fire, dude.
God damn, that sucks. That's crazy. They're just getting here. Oh, that blows.
All right. Well, sometimes fires get started. And luckily for us, the Las Vegas or Clark, I guess it'd be Clark County or it would be city. I don't know where we're at right now.
We're city. We're in the city.
So the city fire department is fast and they're on top of it. There's a house burning catty corner to us, probably about 75, 80 meters away.
Yeah.
And it's on fire and they're stopping that.
They got it controlled. We'll add a video on the pod. We just
A couple of videos of us being heroes.
It's basically right behind
I'm kidding. We didn't do anything. We did go outside. If we needed to help, we were ready to do it. Like, because that was my thought when Javin said there's a house on fire. It's like, okay, well, I'm right here. What's going on out there?
But like a true millennial, he just recorded, right?
Rather than fucking doing something. Sorry, Hannah.
Gotcha,
Rather than
Javin.
doing something.
Dunked on you.
Got his ass. But anyway, yeah. So now I smell like smoke. Next question.
What were we on?
We were finishing up indictment. I think we were done with it.
You're right.
And
Okay.
the second question, which was the one 33,100, you can handle this one. What is a prenup?
What is a prenup? What?
Prenup.
I don't know what that is.
It's a
I don't
prenuptial
have one.
agreement.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. So it's
You should have them. They're good for you.
it's a prenuptial agreement, which means that before you are married, you can enter into a contract saying, if we were to get divorced, this is how our assets would be taken care of or split. They can be binding, and there are certain times where they might not be binding.
Right. For the state of Nevada, one of the requirements that's necessary is that you have to have an accounting, right? So just a list of assets.
Yeah.
The idea being that like two people can't formally enter into this kind of an agreement unless they each know what the other one has.
Yep.
Right. So if I'm, Warren Buffett, but you don't know that I'm Warren Buffett because all my stuff is offshore, right? And I'm retired, right? So I'm not, in the public eye, but I've got billions of dollars. And I'm just like, oh, let's do a prenup. I have a, Prius and this nice house.
one person entering into a marriage under basically false pretenses.
Well, not the marriage. The marriage is fine because the marriage is just.
Well, they're concurrently entering into the marriage, not putting everything forward.
Right. But the thing they're not putting forward is just their assets, which really shouldn't be a reason to get married. Right?
No.
Because you're a man.
I am a man.
Let's cut that part out. I was being mean to women. All right. Yeah. So the prenup has some certain requirements.
Another way you could potentially get out of a prenup is if you're signing it under duress.
Right. You have to have independent counsel.
Let's say you're presented, with it the day of the wedding. And
hey, we're about to go on stage. Sign this for me,
I need
dog.
you to sign this for me to go out. And let's say, my perfect wedding's been planned for months, and I have.
And you're not going to be a pretty princess like you wanted to be.
I don't get to wear my tuxedo in front of everyone, and I am going to be upset.
Did you have tails? Did you wear tails?
No, I don't think so. I got married in 2010. I said last episode. I think I was married 14 years. So it changes what's in style.
What was chic then is no longer chic now.
What was chic then? Yeah, but I wore a normal tuxedo. normal tux.
Okay, cool.
I don't.
But yeah, prenups, good idea, I think, for anybody. But there's going to be some differences, right? Like you can't ever prenuptial away child support.
Yeah.
Alimony can be prenupped away, I know. And this is digging in the memory banks for family law,
And this
which
is
we don't
state
do.
specific.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
But to answer the question, what is a prenup? I don't know if somebody had a famous prenup last year, and that's why that's a question. Because I'm convinced that indictment number one is because of Trump, but Johnny Depp maybe. Is it Jennifer Aniston and Ben Affleck? Did they get married again last year, and now they're getting divorced again? Who did I say?
Jennifer Aniston.
Not Jennifer Aniston, sorry.
Jennifer Lawrence.
J-Lo.
Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Connelly. Jennifer Aniston. Whatever.
Whoever.
Whomst ever among us.
I know a little bit about pop culture, but not very much. Sorry, guys. So I don't know if that's a famous prenup, but they're almost exclusively called prenup instead of prenuptial agreement, but it's basically an agreement to maybe protect the person that has more money in the situation.
Well, I mean, it's to protect everybody, right? And there's some other things that you can't include in a prenup, but don't need to be included in a prenup. Like, for example, things, at least in Nevada, things that you inherit. Doesn't matter. It's automatically, instead of being community property like
it's
stupid state is.
Soul.
Community property is awful. This is why if you live in Nevada, it's a good idea to get a prenup.
Unless you put that inheritance into the joint account. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't
Keep those funds separate. Do not commingle them.
Do not commingle, because then
See, if you commingle them, your sign will fall down.
Your rights become tangled.
Oh!
It's definitely tangled.
Shout
that
out.
becomes complicated.
Shout out to this sweet name.
So if you get if grandpappy dies, put that in a separate account unless you want it to be shared.
All right.
So what is a prenup?
Prenuptial
agreement.
And they're always a good idea.
We have some available. We're not going to do the litigation if you have a fight about it after, but we can provide you a form of a prenuptial agreement to help you out if you want.
Yep. All right.
Number 3, I don't know that we need to give an answer to this question. When somebody Googles it, they get the answer they want.
Right, but let's go ahead and give it.
States where weed is legal. Search volume 27,100.
It's actually a lot of them. The easier question to say states where weed is not legal.
Kansas?
Kansas is one of the 4 where it is completely illegal.
Not even medical.
Nope, not medical, not nothing. So you've got
It's typically
Idaho,
the conservative states.
Wyoming, Kansas, and South Carolina. That's the southern of the Carolinas.
The worst of the Carolinas. Let's go North Carolina.
Oh,
I lived there, so I do love North Carolina.
you know what? I dated a girl in law school that was from North Carolina that was not awesome. And that's a really stupid reason not to like
North
the Tar
Carolina-
Heels.
North
but she would
Carolina's
always give me crap
beautiful.
about the Jayhawks. So
North Carolina is beautiful. South Carolina is famous for a tree. Palmetto. Cool. Congrats, guys.
There's a few other states, Texas, Michigan, Iowa, where it's CBD with THC only, but there's still some THC that's legal. And then you have decriminalized, medicinal, legalized, and the legalized is getting pretty big. I'm not going to list them all, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Is this national searches, Austin?
23.
Okay.
23 states is fully legalized.
We don't even get this question much anymore. Nevada has been fully legal
since
for
2018.
a long time, and before that, it was medicinal purposes, and it was super easy to get a medicinal card.
Well, that's
if you
like
wanted it.
Oklahoma. Oklahoma just made it medicinally legal in 2022, and it's basically medicinally legal as long as a doctor gives you a card.
Yeah, and it's
so-
it's super easy to get card. It was here in Nevada.
I have anxiety.
Sure.
Weed.
whatever it is. It's super easy to get. That question kind of answers itself. There's maps online that are pretty good to look at there.
When you look at Nevada, for example, and it's legalized, meaning just get weed, it's not, though. It's not. Because you can only have up to 28 grams of flour or an equivalent concentrate. Yeah. And you can't have plants that you grow it to make your own the way you could have tomato plants in your backyard unless you live 25 miles from a dispensary. And even then, you can only have 6 in flour and 6 like in the stage right before flowering. I forget the name. Put me on the spot here.
I don't know.
But there's specific rules about how you can do it, and so it's
So tell me how
you're not free. Okay, that's the point that I'm making.
Tell me how these rights are tangled in the federal government. Since it's legal in Nevada, I can take it on the airplane, right?
Negative. Don't do that. I actually have a client right now who took 38 pounds. Well, tried to take 38 pounds on an airplane, and naturally she was caught.
Okay, how are those rights tangled? States' right. It's free in my state. Why can the federal government say that I can't?
There was this thing that happened back in the mid 1800s that kind of gutted the 10th Amendment, which should make it to where these things are left to the state, and that should be that. But unfortunately, some jerks in the South, that's Southern Carolina.
North Carolina and South Carolina? Ooh,
yeah, those guys.
Both of them.
And a few other states, not naming any names, Virginia.
Looking at you, Missouri.
Yeah, looking at you, Missouri, you jerks. They kind of screwed that up for everybody, and so now the feds have it illegal, but it was just descheduled to, I believe, a Schedule 3 recently, which is kind of a hat tip that the trend is moving in that direction.
Yeah, I think both sides now are kind of over the weed debate.
Yeah, I think I saw a deal, and I don't really follow him, so I don't care. Trump talking about weed and like how he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit? It's weed.
I don't think he cares unless his base
it's a
tells
plant.
him to care. But
well, I mean, that's politicians, right? But right now, this map here shows me that more than 50% of the country thinks that weed should be illegal. And I mean, realistically speaking, we should just do a convention, make an amendment. Plants are no longer illegal.
Wow. Wow.
And gets back to individual liberty. If you want to smoke a plant, go for it. Who cares?
All
Just
right.
don't drive.
Question 4, search volume 22,200. What is probate?
Probate.
What is probate?
Probate.
Oh, probate. Probate. Sorry.
Probate.
What is probate? Where does that word come from? Probate. Pro means for.
It's Latin,
Yeah, it's got to be something. I don't know.
but it literally means the official proving of a will.
Okay.
So probate is the process where a will or somebody's property is divvied out the way it's supposed to be. It's just a judicial process where the court accepts the will and then makes sure that it is the true last statement of the deceased. Probate is costly, it is slow, and if you can't avoid it, you should. There are many estate planning techniques which can be used to do that. One of them, for example, is titling property in, as they do in Kansas, TOD, transfer on death, or a joint tenancy with a right of survivorship. Joint tenancy with a right of survivorship is a better idea potentially. You're getting into, so within probate and estate planning, there are many little nuances that need to be taken into account. So you definitely need to consult a estate planning attorney if you have questions about this. But for example, there's something called a basis. And what that matters, why that matters is because whenever you are given something or you buy something, it has a value. And that value is used to determine what your tax liability is if you decide to sell it or transfer it. So for example, if you are my dad,
yes,
and you,
which I am.
Yeah, you're my daddy. Daddy.
Make it weird.
I'm going to make it weird always. And you decide to give me something, then if it exceeds the annual gift tax exclusion rate, which right now I believe is like $16,000 or something. It was $14,900 last time I looked, but that was a few years ago. Then I could potentially be taxed on that. Now, if you die and transfer it to me, or you TOD it or whatever, one of those or the other is going to either give me the original basis or what's called a stepped up basis. So what they do is they either take the basis that you had when you bought the property back in 1950, whatever,
yeah,
or they give the basis when you transfer the property in 2024. Obviously, if the property is appreciated in value, you want a stepped up basis because then your taxable liability is lower. Meaning if the property value in 2024 is $200, but in 1950 it was $100, it's going to raise it as if I bought it at $200, so I'm not taxed on that $100 of gain.
Awesome.
Whatever.
That's so boring.
Your
what
eyes
you're
are,
talking about.
dude. I think this stuff is fun. I love trust in estates because it's like a puzzle piece.
It is.
Shout out,
I don't-
terrible Terriel turnip seed, dude.
I don't think people really care about it until it affects my money. How much am I getting from my grandpappy?
And the reason that you need to care is
What
because
am I getting?
if you don't care before, you're gonna whine after, and then somebody like Terriel Turnipseed is going to tell you you should have done it right but you didn't. He also likes Dak Prescott because they went to the same undergrad.
Oh,
So he's a
Mississippi State.
Yeah, he's a Prescott fan, not necessarily a Cowboys fan.
All right, that's fine.
All right, it's fine.
So that's what probate,
probate.
is. It's figuring out.
And it's very complicated. And the main thing is if you can avoid it, you're going to end up saving a lot of the money because sometimes you'll have an estate that might be slightly valuable, right? Not a huge estate, not billions or hundreds of millions or whatever, but let's say hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And if you have to go through the probate process and there's a challenge or something like that,
Ooh, eats up a lot of that money.
So you're better off just trying to figure something out, a compromise or whatever.
But
yeah, that's what probate is.
A lot of people like to fight about that and think that they get grandmammy's, sewing set that she kept in that old Danish cookie tin. That's mine. I got to fight for that. She wanted me to have
Shane's
that.
the kind of
She told
guy
me.
that walks through a crowded room while knitting.
Sure. I knit. Number 5. I don't know the answer to this. How to trademark a name. Search volume 14,800.
Okay, trademark.
You know this?
I actually do.
You go to the trademark office and file something?
So you do have to file something, but first you have to do a search. And it's a somewhat complicated process, but trademark is different than patent.
Yeah.
Trademark is literally I think there's 3 things. There's name, trade dress, like so for uniforms and stuff, like the Starbucks people or whoever, if they have like an apron that they wear that's designed with them, or an actual trademark like the C&W, right? If you wanted to trademark that, or like Christoph's with the owl.
Or Tangled Rights.
Or Tangled Rights, whatever.
Or this specific,
Yeah,
logo
if we wanted
of
to do
Tangled
that.
Rights.
So you have to do the search, but the weird thing is it's in categories, right? So, for example, you could have a company like Sephora, who is a makeup company.
Okay.
But they
I knew
have
that.
they have their makeup company, but they also, let's say they have the uniform. So you'd have to search it under different categories within the trademark list.
Okay.
So you and I only know enough about this to know that it's complicated and I don't want to do it.
You know enough to be dangerous.
I am dangerous. Yeah. But you need to have a trademark attorney if you're trying to trademark stuff. And like Christoph is a good example. They went to go trademark the logo, a couple of other things. There was some firm out of Texas that does family law that had already
A
trademarked.
similar owl thing.
Yeah. Well, I think the owl was different. I can't remember what it was. I don't remember. It was like "we give a hoot" or something was like a phrase that they wanted to do,
that's
which
kinda
you
cool.
can do. But once you do that, once you actually complete the mark, then it's yours, right?
And you can
have
use-
infringement. You can do cease and desist letters, all that
Right.
sort of stuff, so that people can't take your stuff.
Yeah, so once you get a cease and desist, I guess then you really have to make a choice as to...
But the weird thing here is that there's this like overlay between like state law, right, and international law. Like the person that I know that I learned this stuff from had some clients who sold things that dealt with equestrian stuff, right? Horse riding,
Okay.
right? Belts, buckles for dressage and things like that.
Sure.
Well, some company out of China took their shit and was just making it. And they're like, well, we're going to make it exactly the same.
Oh.
Right? So what do you do
Well,
then?
Chinese suits get real complicated.
Correct. Because also
And
in
you
China...
have to have a lot of money to try and shut them down in the Chinese court system.
And in China, they have it to where they can just take your stuff. Intellectual property is not really a thing there.
We don't recognize, any international governing
And
body on that.
I'm 90% certain that whenever a company decides to do business in China, they have to sign like a disclosure that says that they recognize that China's going to take their secrets. They're like, well, your stuff is ours. It's our intellectual property.
I guess that's part of communism.
Hashtag communism.
Wow. All right. So
Anyway,
we'll put you in contact if you have that specific question, how to
I
trademark a name.
do know the right people to plug you into. I know just enough to know that I don't want to do it.
Okay.
Oh, I get to take this one too.
Number 6.
What is a felony?
and
Grave major,
I think
as
we-
they say in the Hispanics.
Well, delito. And they don't really have
It's delito major.
Yeah, but it's not
It's
really...
grave as well, no?
Grave just means like serious, like strong, like grave.
Grave.
So this is... We throw this word around a lot, and I think people hear felony and they think, oh, that's serious.
It is.
So it is. A felony is a crime that can carry a punishment of prison time of 1 year or more. Misdemeanor or gross misdemeanor is 364 days.
or less.
or
Come
less.
on, I thought we were going to keep doing it at the same time.
I tried.
Damn.
So
no.
felonies are serious. You can be in prison for a year. And,
That's not honestly the thing that's the worst to me.
And then there's a history when you go to apply for a job.
You lose some rights. They're no
lose-
longer tangled because you don't have them,
You lose gun rights.
and you lose the right to vote.
Arguably,
No,
well,
right now.
right. Well, I guess whether something's unconstitutional is now.
Right, it's always been
But we'd have to
unconstitutional.
carry that. You would likely.
Just like the NFA and the Federal Firearms Act of 1963. They've been unconstitutional since they started.
Let's say you have a nonviolent felony.
Mm-hmm.
If you took a nonviolent felony,
Possession of a controlled substance, low level.
sure, and then you had a gun, you'd probably get convicted of that and need to appeal it
Correct.
to, if you're charged in Nevada State Court, you'd appeal it to Nevada Supreme Court and then the U.S. Supreme Court to look at that.
You're going to request certiorari,
So
and
that's-
they are going to tell you no.
So if you're paying for that privately, that's millions of dollars to get that case to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well, you wouldn't pay for it privately. There's
There
organizations.
are
that would take
organizations
that
that want this to go forward on both ends. There's organizations for and against.
one. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, you want some finality to it, and what we got in DC v. Heller was a great starting point, and then we get to the cases that have come down
These
recently.
recent Ninth Circuit stuff going on.
Not just that, but the recent Supreme Court cases.
Yep.
Right. And
They're taking looks at these whether or not if you had a low level
PCS Who
drug
cares?
charge,
Yeah.
possession of a controlled substance,
And man,
that you lose your gun rights for forever.
and that's a
because-
weird one too, because also on the form when you buy a firearm, it asks you if you're an addict, right? If you're addicted to drugs, alcohol, or other
Can
substances.
people who are addicted check no?
Hunter Biden.
Jeez, dude.
That's what his whole thing's about. That's
Yes.
the whole deal, is that he lied on a form
That is and
because he
that's-
was
That's a form of perjury, right?
right. But there's a difference, like between and this is the part where it gets really complicated, where you're going to have some issues. What's the difference between someone who's a recreational drug user and someone who's actually an addict?
It depends on the person defining it.
Sure.
A jury of 12 would see that
Sure.
all different sorts of ways,
Right.
right?
But the thing is, like, can you be a recreational cocaine user? I don't know. Or is that some form of addiction?
You mean all of our fellow attorneys practicing? No, none of them.
Well, some of them certainly, but not all of them. Come on, man.
I know, not
the
all
answer
of
is
them,
not
but-
always or never.
That's what politics has radicalized me. It's always
Everyone does
one
cocaine.
extreme or the other.
Wait, what was that meme? And it's like things I've learned as an adult. Cheese is expensive, and everyone does cocaine. It's true. Cheese is expensive,
Yes, that is.
and cocaine's a hell of a drug.
So felonies are serious crimes.
I've never done it though.
Felonies are serious crimes that carry sentences that are a little more serious.
Yeah, but the big thing I think is the stigma that comes with it afterwards. So that's one of the things that I really try to do with my clients that don't have felonies. Oh man, like that one that we just got the return on. I'm not going to say his name.
No, but I'll tell you, we've gotten offers where the prosecution will offer, okay, here you take a felony with no jail time or take a misdemeanor with jail time.
and they'll take the felony.
And some of them will take the felony. and
Man,
it's
but
like,
they already have one. It's like, what's the difference? Well, the difference in the state of Nevada,
or it could be their first and then
right? But most times where it's the first felony, they don't. Outside of really weird circumstances, like the one where that kid shot the other guy, right? There was an argument in a parking lot, and he shot him on camera. And then there was a witness that watched him from when he shot him run into the house and told the cops, he's in there. This is what he's wearing, right? So he was pretty screwed. Outside of that one, you usually don't have to take a felony right out of the gate. You can get a drop down, or you can go to drug court and get it dismissed at the end of drug court if you get into the TAP program. There's many different things. But the main thing here is that felonies are just a penalty that the law has set out that are more serious. All right, question number 7. 14,800 tied for felony. What is alimony?
you touched this before. You touched on this before. Alimony is after a divorce or separation, I guess.
Yeah.
You may have to pay your former spouse some kind of money because during the marriage they provided some other kind of support,
And they got used to a certain lifestyle.
and that is an element
And
of
because-
them getting used to this.
Because whichever of
lifestyle.
the spouses was the one that was doing the thing that made the money, you know, they brought this other person along with them and gave them all their money, and they're being punished for it.
What's read into that is that this spouse provided the support for you to get there. And if you're going to continue to be with them,
What if you already had, like, let's say your degree before you met them, and you were already doing the thing before you met them?
so that's a factor that's read into it, certainly. And this is all we've heard. We don't practice in family court much.
No, I don't
But
want to.
all,
It's gross.
all we hear is that family court is the Wild West, where people can just throw out accusations and rules don't matter. Never practiced there.
Where the rules are made up.
It's like, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
And the points don't matter.
Hey,
So-
so I do know that alimony can be adjusted, right? So let's say the person loses their job, it can go up or down. You know, the person gets a better job, and you know the other spouse gets to keep living that lifestyle that they loved,
Or partially.
which is
anyway.
probably why they got married to him in the first place,
Could be.
because they were a loser and the other one wasn't,
Okay.
or whatever, you know.
Well,
And it goes both ways.
when there's a divorce, it's not usually good feelings.
No,
It's usually harmed feelings, hurt feelings that
that's true.
are
Yeah. And then that's
Fought
the other
over.
thing. When people get divorced, so you're in this situation, you don't want to be in it anymore. Everybody's upset to some degree, right?
Yes.
I've seen a few divorces that were purely amicable, but it's usually not the case. And then you take upsetness mixed with, now I got to pay you money. What's that going to do?
that
Not great.
creates some hard feelings.
Correct. Yeah, alimony is spousal support.
Alimony is post-divorce spousal support, and one party may be forced to pay the other person money, and that's family court decision. So, alimony.
Alimony.
Countries where prostitution is legal. Search volume 12,100.
Oh.
An incel search there.
Hey. So I'm looking this up.
It's legal in the United States of America in some parts.
It is not too far from here.
Not too far from here.
that
It is legal in Nevada, but not
Chicken
in
Ranch.
Clark County. So Clark County is the county where Las Vegas sits. And so just outside of Clark County, you can go to some hen houses, Chicken Ranch, I think is...
Chicken Ranch is what I heard it called.
Is that the famous one where Lamar Odom ended up when he was found on a bender?
I don't even know who that is.
He was a star basketball player.
Odell Beckham?
No, Lamar Odom.
Oh.
Lamar Odom. And he was married to a Kardashian.
His bed that he OD'd on is like 2 blocks out.
Have you slept in it?
No, not yet.
Oh, what is it in a hotel?
It's at the Zach Baggins Museum.
Hotel everybody, even the mayor.
Oh, so Austin
ludicrous?
was off camera and told us that Lamar Odom's bed that he OD'd on is now in the Haunted Museum.
Is he
The guy
dead?
who owned it, used it after he OD'd it, and then died in it. So it's like double whammy.
Who died in it?
The Dennis Hoff, or the guy who owned the chicken ranch.
The guy who owned the chicken ranch apparently died in that bed too.
There's not
And
that
now
many.
now it's in the Haunted Museum, which I've been to one time.
I haven't.
You haven't been, dude. You run a show about that.
I'm going at the end of the month. Yeah.
I want to go. When you go, let me know. I want to go with you.
It's creepy, man.
It sounds fun.
That Annabelle doll. Ugh.
So there's actually not that many countries where prostitution is legal. On North
In
America,
the United States of America, the freest of all countries, it is though.
on North America, the North American continent, it's just us. On South America, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them.
And it's just specific states here, right? Like I don't think it's many
it's
states.
Not, it's not many. It's very low. Africa, how many countries in Africa do you think it's legal?
27.
1.
Okay.
And it's just Mozambique.
I mean,
according to this,
they're
there's limited legality in several others, but and then in Europe, fully legal, it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. There's some tiny little country. Turkey. No, that's not small. Is that a country? Greece. Okay, there we go. Yeah, 5 in Europe.
Greece is a country and a.
I know it is. Be quiet. Indonesia. What? It's legal in Indonesia? That doesn't make any sense.
It's got to be legal in Thailand too, isn't that a big
Yeah.
tourism event there,
Yeah.
or is
It's-
it an illegal tourism event?
It's illegal in Sri Lanka.
Okay,
It's legal in Australia. I do remember that from living there.
they do have the.
They do have it because we were sitting there one day at after a game. So when we had the multiple grades, right? The lowest grade would play first. So then we were pretty low on the chain, so we'd play. And then we were sitting there one day, and one of the guys was like, "Hey, you fancy a trip to the Polywaffle?" And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Polywaffle." And I'm like, "Polywaffle? What are you talking about?" It's a brothel. And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go to the brothel. Are you kidding me?" It's like a thing with Commonwealth countries. They make rhymes for things that they want to say, like surreptitiously.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I got invited to a prostitute house of ill repute, and I did not go.
Well, hey, if you want to Google that, go ahead. I don't think that it'll lead you to any legal questions we can answer for you.
Nope. Just go to Nye County.
Nye County is not far away from Las Vegas. Fly into Vegas, spend your hard-earned dollars here.
Not in Nye County. If you really want a prostitute, just go to Boulder Highway, and then
No,
call me when you
oh.
get picked up.
Yeah, that will be.
But you're also going to want to consult a doctor probably afterwards.
I can't say that we haven't had prostitution criminal defense clients before. So
I have 2 solicitation clients right now. I've had a prior.
they do undercover cops do try and sting that
They'll
out.
sting you.
So
All right. So next question: how to file for divorce?
search volume 12,100, the same as 8 in 10. How to file for divorce. I've never filed for divorce. I think you can do it on your own pretty easily.
It's pretty easy.
Show up to the family courthouse. A lot of things you can try on your own. Sometimes we'll talk to people and say, "Hey, we're too expensive, to help you out. You're asking for like $5,000, and for me to get started on your case is going to be $2,000 or $3,000 for me to even look at it."
Yeah.
So does it make financial sense for you to hire me?
I'll never financially recover from this.
So you can do some of this research on your own.
Tiger King.
They try and make it simple, and a lot of people do no contest divorces.
Yeah.
And you can fill out forms together and say, "Hey, no alimony, no child support. We're gonna split the kids 50-50. We have an
Split
agreement."
'em?
So
Goodness gracious. I don't think that's legal in any state.
some King Solomon stuff here. We're getting biblical. So in Clark County, at least, they have an online website. What website isn't online, I guess?
I've never heard of one.
They have a website you can go, and there's forms for you to fill out, and basically you just fill in names and fill in, hey, he gets this, I get this, he's taking responsibility for this, I'm taking responsibility for that. So you can do it yourself. It is better, an attorney seeing the pitfalls that
depends.
that could be faced.
If it's a completely agreed to divorce, I would recommend doing the joint petition. 'Cause
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's going to get granted pretty quick.
There
Certain
can
states
be-
have a cooling off period, like Texas.
North Carolina, I think you have to be separated for 1 year before you file for divorce.
What?
Yeah.
That is ass.
Because they're religious, baby. They want people to stay together.
I mean,
It's all-
so's Kansas, but give me a break. It's only 60
year.
days in Kansas.
Yeah. Well, this is years ago. I don't know if it is anymore, but I remember
better not
learning that
be.
it was.
Damn no.
North Carolina, the better Carolina.
The better Carolina of the wait, no, it's the northernmost, but the worstmost.
Sure, whatever. So
Down to the Tar Heels.
there is a self-help desk
Yep.
here in Clark County where you can go and get minimal help. They don't want to, they're not your attorney, so they're not
They will
going to
not
give you legal advice.
but they will tell you the forms you need to fill out, and they'll make sure you screwed it up, and they'll yell at you. For it.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll fill it out wrong, and they'll just kick it back, and you don't know why. So we get asked for some free legal help sometimes, but we try not to because we're trying to feed our families.
I don't care about feeding anybody, so I give free help all the time.
Okay.
But it does annoy the absolute crap out of me.
It can, but we want to help people.
I do
but
want to help people.
We do want to get paid.
I would also like to pay my student loans off someday before I die, please and thanks.
So filing for divorce is pretty easy. Most jurisdictions you can file it online.
Yep.
Some jurisdictions have paper filing where you have to either mail in a copy or bring in a physical copy. It just depends. So it's hard to answer your question just generically how to file, but search your court, your county court on how to file. Do some Googles.
Use the Googles.
Click some links, read some stuff, try and do your own research
And
first.
critically think.
Use your brain a little bit.
If you work for a law firm and you have a question that you want to bring it to your boss, read the documents before you come to your boss and ask him questions.
Yeah, a little bit.
Take a look, see if the answer might be in the medical records.
Yep. So hopefully we answer your question how to file for divorce. Don't come to us. We won't help you. But we have people to send you to.
I can absolutely give you somebody their number that I would definitely use.
We'll hand you their phone number. If you have a divorce that you're going to fight over and it's going to be a fight, you need an attorney. So
yes,
do that. And then our last question.
What is a misdemeanor?
We kind of answered this already. It is a crime.
Not
Not a traffic citation. Traffic citations, at least here in Las Vegas, Clark County, are mostly not.
But it got weird now because it's a civil infraction.
They're civil infractions.
So it used to be citation, which was still criminal, but now it's a civil infraction, not a citation.
Civil infraction are lesser, so lower. It's like
Well, and the other thing is so that they can send you to collections.
so that they can send you to collections.
Because that's what it really comes down to. There was something like $12 million. It was a stupid number was out in traffic that no one was paying. Like that between like parking tickets and
and they decided if there's a penalty of jail time, you're entitled to an attorney.
Yep.
So they said we cannot put the public defender up on all these cases, so we're going to make them civil infractions.
Yep, because really all they care about is money.
It
not
is
safety.
Well, in some instances, it really does feel like a money-making scheme.
It's all about the money.
And the standard of proof on these cases, they don't even have the cops come to testify in the city of Las Vegas Justice Court traffic. That
You don't win those often, but
You've won one, yeah.
sometimes we go down and we win.
The big dog. So,
You want to win? Put Justin in. That's going on my billboard, baby.
Your billboard. Okay.
Our billboard.
Whatever. Put Justin and Shane. Small font in.
I've got Shane on it with his gimp suit and his collar as I'm yanking him on. Hey, me and my pet here will take care of your case.
In a criminal sense, we call misdemeanors misdos a lot.
Misto,
because misdemeanor is 4 syllables, and misto is just 2. So we cut that in half. Look at all the time we're saving by saying misto.
Well, it also goes because like prosecutors' offices as a government entity, they love acronyms.
They use so many, and they put them on their offers, and I try to decipher them, and I'm just like,
Well, sometimes they put stuff on there that I don't even know, and I'm like,
What
bro,
is this?
you just
What is
made
this?
something up. Don't even at me with that.
Oh man!
All right.
And we deal with so many different prosecutors' offices, and they have their own kind of.
Everybody's a little bit different, and
Language,
some are
too.
worse than others. Not saying any names. Henderson, North Las Vegas, Pahrump. But the other offices are very reasonable and easy to deal with.
My favorite about North Las Vegas and Henderson is there's no remote appearances, and you can't just
Dude.
log in online.
My least favorite
In
thing
2024.
that happened with North Las Vegas is what happened just this last week, where that prosecutor came up to me and bragged about being Henderson North. Which what that means is, for people that don't know, is that they're more difficult, right? Like the offer is plead straight up. Okay, cool. Let's go to trial then. Because if I have to plead straight up, I'm just going to take it to trial.
Henderson's difficult to have cases in.
Yep. I demand trial by combat. And then I guarantee the offers will get better.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, they're allowed to do that, right?
They are. It's their job. It's their prerogative as prosecutors. They're allowed to take whatever position they want to take.
Henderson has their standards on their crimes, though.
They're the safest city in the United States of America.
Yeah. And they take their crime seriously, and they go hard after criminal defendants.
In the paint.
Yes, in the paint. They go hard in the paint, of course.
So misdemeanors,
Lower crimes.
felonies.
Not a felony.
Is there anything more than a felony?
What do you mean?
Is there anything more than a felony? Can you get bigger than a felony? Is it like
I've
a
never-
very big felony?
I've never heard of anything.
Capital.
Oh, well, yeah.
Uh-oh, that was a trick question because it's still a felony, but
is.
the punishment's worse because the punishment is death.
Yeah, thanks, Justin, for being smarter than me in front of everyone.
No, I'm being trickier.
Capital punishment.
Call me Loki,
Sure.
the god of mischief.
You're right. You're right. I'm
That
wrong.
smoke, I think.
is messing with.
I think it was some good stuff.
No,
I'm feeling a little goofy today.
That fire is.
No, what it
serious.
is it's 4:50, and I'm on vacation in exactly 10 minutes.
Lucky you. All right. Our last listener question is, what is privilege? So it's
We
when,
both have it.
yeah, we're white men. So, so privilege in a legal sense, we'll say privilege as in attorney-client privilege,
let's break them down one at a time.
Doctor
It's going
privilege,
to take a minute, and we've got time.
clergyman privilege, and spousal privilege. So attorney-client privilege is the fact that a client is protected by what they tell their attorney, as long as it's not to commit a future crime. That is not a privilege. So that means that anything you tell your attorney can never be divulged unless you agree to it, either by your actions or you agreeing to it, by saying, yes, you can divulge what I told you. So attorney-client privilege is considered, I think that's the most famous one, because people hear about that a lot. So if you even have a consultation with me and tell me what you got going on, I had criminal charges, and if I ask you, well, what happened? And you tell me what you did, even in a consultation, prosecution could never come and have me come testify about it.
And
because you have an expectation of privacy. It's your expectation. So you have a reasonable expectation that I would never tell somebody, and that we might have
and it's a may, not a shall.
Client. Yeah.
It's a may, not a shall under the rules. The rules of professional conduct, the model rules in 1.6. But I was very fortunate in law school. I actually got to meet Frank Armani. He was the presiding judge on when I did the Lionel O. Grossman trial competition, and myself and Colleen Gibbons, shout out, won it. Frank Armani was one of our judges, and Frank Armani in 1973 was the lawyer who basically codified this whole thing, because he represented a guy who was a serial killer. And after the arrest, they'd already come to an agreement, and the serial killer told Armani where a couple of their bodies were that the police were looking for, and they couldn't get them. And so the public put tons of pressure on Armani to be like, yo, tell us where the bodies are. These families want closure. And he's like, look, I can't. And he actually got, I think, death threats. I know that his business suffered for it, but then it shook out later that everybody's like, no, you did the right thing. And it was really interesting to talk to him and hear his story, just hear him tell about this. And it's like, I read about you in a book, bro, and I'm standing here in front of you. I don't know. It was really wild. It was a crazy case.
So I think most people understand that you can waive that. Let's say you make a complaint against your attorney later, sue your attorney or something like that. You are waiving that privilege then, because your statements to your attorney will
because it's evidence
be subject.
But the inquiry is where's the thought process line, right? So if it's from something without, then obviously the statements aren't viable or useful. But if it's within, then the statements, you can't just oh, I'm going to attack the attorney and hide behind this shield.
Yeah.
When the shield is going to be partly, what is making up the basis of the case.
And one thing we see is our criminal defense clients will bring in somebody else into the conversation. They'll bring a family member or a friend.
Oh, God. And bring their mommy.
If you tell me something with your mom present, your sister present, there's no attorney-client privilege in that conversation.
That is the first thing that I tell them. I'm like, look, dude, I'm happy to sit in here and explain to you, a grown man with your mommy present, what's going on in your case. And I'm not going to lie, I look down on him a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
It's why do you need this person here? I'm the guy who's trying to help you. I'm not the scary guy.
Yeah.
But I get it scary, whatever. Anyway, I tell him look, we can talk about things, but we can't talk about too much. Otherwise they have to go out, because if they don't, then we're not bound by confidentiality anymore.
Yeah.
And if somebody asks me, the wrong person asked me, I have to tell them.
Yep.
So
we get that a lot, and sometimes we have to be the bad guy and tell them, hey, just so you know, any conversation you have with me, with her, overhearing, if you believe she can overhear, if you believe it's private,
that's the other thing. It's a reasonable expectation.
It's your reasonable expectation. If you think you can't be heard, but you can.
But it turns out I was doing the thing that I do, where I put the listening device to the wall. Still private.
You're still private. Yeah. So
I don't actually do that.
So we said, don't tell your celly anything. There's no privilege there. There's no privilege with mom, with sister, with cousin.
Don't talk on the phone. The jail phone, it tells you that it's recording.
But leading into the next one, spousal privilege.
It's actually kind of the same thing.
Because they consider the relationship. The idea behind it is they consider the relationship so special, and you want that to be.
You want to promote a bond rather than promote sort of an adversarial nature.
So marriage is,
and the next three are the same: doctor, spouse, clergyman. It's for the same basic reason.
They're all basically the same thing. But with your spouse, if your spouse is present with your attorney, that's fine because we enjoy the same privilege, and it has to be actually married. And so sometimes we'll ask people, "Are you actually married?
Are you married or are you married?
Because some cultures, will say, "Yeah, we're married."
Like
but
Javin, he's not married yet, but he wears a ring. So
Yeah.
if you saw him and his fiancee, they're enfianced, but they're not married.
they're not married
So you'd think they were married
legally. Has to be a legal
Yeah,
marriage.
you
guys.
think that they have privileges, but there are no spousal privileges there.
And that privilege starts when you're married.
The day of,
Yeah.
and not one moment before.
Nope.
However, with your clergyman, starts as soon as you go in and start talking to him. You don't have to marry your clergyman.
And so anything you tell, you cannot have your priest, bishop, whatever, cannot testify against you.
Well,
for things
I
you
think that
tell
there's
them.
also an exception if you tell them for the purposes of concealing it.
Yeah.
I think there's like a catch-all exception. And again, I haven't taken ethics since 2016.
But this is evidence.
I mean, it's evidence, but also I haven't dealt with this in a trial ever.
No,
This is more of an
that doesn't
ethical
come up.
thing.
Yeah.
Typically.
But your clergyman or your spouse or your attorney can still,
Yeah.
or not your attorney, but your spouse or your clergyman can still report you and say,
Yep.
hey, this person is committing this crime or has committed this crime. You need to look into it. But then they can't be compelled to testify against you.
The spouse cannot be compelled. I remember that one.
The
That was
spouse
the thing.
cannot be compelled.
She can say something. She can say something if she wants.
And that can be used for probable cause, right?
But she cannot be forced to testify.
No.
And I also think you can't get divorced just for the purposes of defeating
Yeah.
that particular protection.
Yeah.
Right. If you do that, it works the same way, but in the opposite as the communication privilege.
Yeah. So you have the communication while you're married. That's a protected conversation, that only between you and your spouse.
Yes.
So can't be forced to testify.
It is a sacred bond
that,
between
legally speaking,
two humans.
I mean, religiously, have your own opinion about it, but legally there are protections in all states that I'm
And
aware
the government needs to be involved in more of our affairs.
Oh,
They should actually get involved in the part. Oh, they are.
do we need a business license to do our job?
We need two business licenses. We need a county business license and a city business license.
Oh,
And we have to get inspections, and we have to have tax stuff, and all kinds of other dumb crap that no one ever bothers to tell you about.
do we need a fire inspection too?
We needed that, and we had
And
to change.
why, Justin?
make-
Because fires happen in downtown Las
Yeah,
Vegas.
that's why we got a
in
fire
old
extinguisher.
houses.
But we got a fire extinguisher. It's real good.
we're good now.
We got two of them, in fact. And I grew out of lighting fires inside at like 14, so we're good.
Good, and we have to have it mounted too.
Yes, and we have lights that will tell you how to get out.
If the house is on fire, yeah, and the electric gets cut.
Yep.
They are battery operated.
Do not,
We learned about that quite a bit from having to
do
do
not
this.
try to go out a door that's got a bar on the back of it.
You learn a lot opening a
cooked
business
there.
that has nothing to do with law.
Yeah.
But if you guys have any other legal questions,
Send them to us.
drop them in the comments. Listen to Tangled Rights.
Like, subscribe,
Hire Cox and Wilson.
updo, tell your friends. Tell us what we did wrong. Tell us how we sound dumb. Everybody likes to be a hater rather than be like a
A lover?
promoter, a positive guy. So give us your negative vibes. We want to hear it. I don't know. Bye.
Bye. As Austin mentioned off air, South Carolina is still full of some proud boys, some good old boys. I used to live in North Carolina. If you go out into the sticks, you'll see the stars and bars, the Confederate flag a lot. South Carolina is a weird place. This is from the Charleston River Dogs, who, if you don't know, South Carolina's state food or state snack food is boiled peanuts. This peanut is in a pot and he's sweating because he's being boiled. And the brim, it's not a giraffe. That's a peanut shell. This is a weird hat. There's a lot of options for South Carolina, but we picked the weirdest one because South Carolina is the worst of the Carolinas. Go North Carolina forever. But now boiled peanuts with a weird shell brim. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Peace.